we're going to right click, we're going to choose copy. And then we're going to go over to our newly formatted micro SD card and we're going to say paste. This is now going to copy the entire Noobs OS over to the micro SD card. Once it has completed, we're going to take out the micro SD card and plug it into our Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is all plugged in. We have our micro SD card ready to rock and roll. You basically just want to flip the Raspberry Pi over and stick the micro SD card into the slot here. It only fits one way, so if it doesn't work one way, flip it over and try it the other way. And then once everything is plugged in and ready to go, just hit your power button, and we should pretty immediately see our screen come alive here. There we go. So we have Raspberry Pi now booting up on this screen. I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to bring it in to zoom in on just the screen itself and talk you through the Noobs installation process. Once your Raspberry Pi boots up with Noobs installed, this is the screen that you're going to come to, and we can see that we have Raspbian as our Raspbian Full as our recommended first choice. Now, I see a bunch of different choices in here. I see those because I have my network cable plugged in. If you did not plug in a network cable and you're relying on wireless, then you may only see Raspbian Full in this list. That's perfectly fine. What you want to do is bring your mouse over here or hit W to get to wireless Wi-Fi networks, and then you can select from a list of available Wi-Fi networks and connect your system just like any other PC that you would connect to wireless. Once you do that, it will populate the rest of these items because those are items that need to be downloaded. So if I wanted to install, for instance, this one here that says data partition, or I'd say this one here, Laka RPi 4, this one would require a download. So that's why it doesn't show up until you actually enable a network, or it can see the internet, I should say. But we're just going to install Raspbian. So I'm going to check Raspbian Full, and then we're going to click Install, and then we're going to say Yes. Once the installation is completed, just press OK, and then the Raspberry Pi is going to reboot, and you will come up with this screen here. So we can see our Raspberry Pi background, and then we get the start of our Welcome to Raspberry Pi Wizard. Note here that I can see an IP address. In this case, I got 192.168.200.201. I have that IP address because I'm plugged into Ethernet. If you are connecting over Wi-Fi, you may not have an IP address yet, but we're going to connect to Wi-Fi in just a second, or be given the option to connect to Wi-Fi in just a second. So let's go ahead and say Next to get started. We're going to select our country. In my case, I'm United States. American English is fine, and time zone is Los Angeles. We're going to use US keyboard and click Next. Now we want to choose a strong password. So the default Pi user has a password of Raspberry. You can see that right here. But we want to set our own password. Make sure you set it to something nice and strong, but that you're going to remember. Then we're going to click Next. And now it says Set Up Screen. The desktop should fill the entire screen. Tick the box below if your screen has a black border at the edges. So mine does have a black border at the edges. You can see that it doesn't quite make it all the way to the bevel around the monitor here. So we're going to check this box and we're going to say Next. And now we have the option to connect to our Wi-Fi network. Here we can see all of the available Wi-Fi networks. If you want to connect to Wi-Fi, this is where you can select your network and click Next. In my case, though, I'm already connected with Ethernet, so I'm just going to say Skip. Now we're going to update software. So I'm going to show you how to manually update software as well, because this little wizard tends to not work, or at least it hasn't worked for me in the past. So we'll do both mechanisms here. We'll try to update the software here by just clicking Next. And if it gives an error, then we will move on to the manual method. All right, looks like the updates did go perfectly fine that time, so we're going to say OK. And now it says Setup Complete. Your Raspberry Pi is now set up and ready to go. Press Restart to restart your Pi now, so the new settings will take effect, or press later to close the wizard and restart the Pi yourself. So we're just going to go ahead and restart now, and then when this comes back, we'll talk about how to run those updates manually, just in case anyone else got an error and has to rerun updates on their own. Okay, we are back, and as you can see now also, the screen extends all the way to the bevel of the monitor, so it has fixed that one issue. Let's go ahead and open up this icon here. This is sort of the black box. It's labeled Terminal, and this is our Linux command prompt. So we're going to open this up a little bit more here, and let's talk about how to manually run updates. Now again, this command that I'm about to tell you is in that blog post. So if you do have to run the commands that I'm about to show you and you need a reference for how exactly they're typed, go check out the blog post. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to say sudo apt-get update, and we're going to say enter. What this does is it goes out and sees if any new packages are available to update. And then we're going to say sudo apt-get upgrade -y. Since we just updated, there shouldn't be anything that is available to update, so we are put right back to the prompt. But if you did have updates to run, it would have just run through all of those updates in the command line here. All right, so our system's completely up to date.